like a window, no window, look at the video, say to yourself, that could have been you.
Because they're like, Dawn. And everybody on the East Coast calls me Don. I'm like, what is Don?
My mom thought I was on Long Island, but I was at Howard Homecoming. Turn it up.
Let's go. Welcome, everyone. You are now tuned into another amazing edition of Sonya on Air. I'm your host, Sonya Hudson Payne. And how do I start each and every single show? I'll wait. You guessed it. I have another great show for you. Coming up in just a few short moments, I have the award-winning screenwriter and director, Paige Irene Bruns. Now, this is going to be a change for Sonya on Air Celebrity Interviews because I typically have conversations with talent who are in front of the camera, in front of the microphone. You drop their names or you see their faces and you automatically know who they are. But this conversation will be about an amazing talent behind the camera. We need to know who's creating all of this dope content. So we need to give those people their flowers today. So make sure that you stay tuned in because I'm going to have an amazing conversation unpacking everything that happens behind the camera, like I said, with award-winning screenwriter and director, Paige Irene Bruns. But do me a favor, before we go any further with this conversation, Sonya on Air is streaming just across about every major platform. If you're watching this conversation on YouTube, make sure not only that you subscribe, but do me a favor, hit that notification button too. If you hit that notification button, or when you hit the notification button, as soon as I upload an all new Sonya on Air celebrity interview, you will be the first to know. Who doesn't want to be the first to know about all the celebrity news and just unpacking their milestones? I do. This show is really about integrity. I don't care about the gossip. And we are going to lead with just having integrity in 2022, which brings me to, this is the last Sonya on Air celebrity interview that I am doing for 2021. I am preparing for 2022, booking all new celebrity interviews, bringing you once again amazing conversations that have integrity. Integrity. It is very, very, I would say, it is difficult being a woman of color, a Black woman in this space of media, especially a Black woman who is of a particular age. So do me a favor. Make sure you subscribe to all Sonya on Air streaming platforms. Like I said, Sonya on Air streaming on YouTube, but you can also find Sonya on Air on Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, Pandora, Alexa, Stitcher, Buzzsprout, and whatever streaming platform is available. So make sure you find Sonya on Air across the streaming platforms and subscribe to each and every single one. Do me that favor. And then guess what? For all of you brands, a difficult challenge that we all face is increasing our brand's visibility. I want to solve that for you. I have access to amazing digital billboards. Who doesn't want to see their brand's names in lights on 42nd Street? But not only on 42nd Street, I have access to digital billboards in 41 cities in the United States of America. And if you secure a digital billboard with me, I'll throw in, some extra bonus things that I'm sure you will love. A free trip, Mexico, Dubai. Who doesn't want to do that? So make sure, if you want to increase your brand's visibility, email me. Serious inquiries only. Email Sonya at sonyaonair.net. Then, while you are figuring that out, let's keep this brand alive. You can purchase all new Sonya On Air Empower apparel at my website. Just go to the description section of this Sonya On Air episode and click on the link and you'll be directed to Sonya On Air Empower apparel. And guess what? I have an amazing holiday sale going on right now. It started today and it continues and ends on December 26th, 2021. So make sure that you get your Sonya On Air Empower apparel. And I do have some other merchandise, some nice little Sonya On Air coffee mugs. Let me tell you something just real quick. So as I've been doing these celebrity interviews for quite some time, and when I start speaking to talent, let's say, who don't live in New York City, they tell me that I have a New York accent. I'm a Brooklyn girl, born and raised, and people knew that I was a Brooklyn girl by the way I say coffee. So I've been practicing saying coffee. Tell me how you say it. Do you say coffee or do you say coffee? But anyway, I have some amazing Sonya On Air coffee mugs available for you, some apparel, empowering apparel, 25% off for the holiday season. So make sure you get your Sonya On Air Empower apparel and merchandise. Make sure you contact me if you want amazing digital billboard space in order to increase your brand's visibility. And make sure you subscribe. Now stay tuned because in just a few short moments, I have award-winning screenwriter and director, Paige Irene Bruns. How else can you support? Cash App. Cash App me at $sign Sonya Hudson. That's SANYAHUDSON. Your last minute holiday shopping in as fast as 1 hour via Instacart. Take $30 off your first delivery of $50 or more with code CHEERS30. That's CHEERS 30. Offer ends December 24th, 2020. Hi, Paige.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine. It's the Christmas holiday, so everyone's supposed to be happy, I guess.
Yeah, it is.
Have you started preparing for the holiday season?
I have. I still have a little bit of Christmas shopping to do, if I'm being honest, but I will be ready by the time Christmas rolls around.
Well, you're doing better than me because I haven't done anything. I'm just in the spirit.
Okay, well, hey, that's better than nothing, but in the spirit is what counts, right?
Yes, I gave myself a deadline to turn it into actionable steps, actually going to get things. So now it's just a thought.
Okay, there you go. It's okay. It's what matters as long as you're in the spirit. That's what it's all about anyways. So
yeah. Well, I just want to jump right into this conversation because I'm excited because usually when I have conversations with those in entertainment, it's people who are in front of the camera, people who are in front of the microphone. And I really want people to start embracing people like you who create dope content. And you're young. If you don't mind me asking, how old are you?
I'm 23. I'll be 24 in January.
Really? So you are a millennial.
Yeah.
Okay, so being so young, when did you realize that you wanted to be a screenwriter or director?
Well, I think first and foremost, I've known that I wanted to do something in entertainment for just about as long as I can remember. But for a while, I was focused on a completely different side of it. I was very interested in acting. So I kind of did that whole actors world thing. I was very involved in like the local theater programs in my high school theater. And then in high school, just really fell even more in love with it and was like, okay, let's see what the possibility of doing this as a career would be. And I started doing auditions. But when I started doing that, I very quickly realized that I was not cut out to be an actor. Being in a room full of people looking at me, whether that be in audition room or on the set, it was just not something that I was ever going to get used to. So I kind of took a step back from that, but was still very involved in my high school theater program. And one day my director came up to me and said, hey, I'm thinking about doing a series of student-directed one-act plays. Would you want to direct one? And I was so confused. I was like, I don't know anything about directing or this world. I don't know why you would ask. But I ended up doing it. And that was the first time that I was exposed to directing of any kind and absolutely fell in love with it. And then the rest was history. I just kind of kept seeking out opportunities to do it.
Nice. You know what's refreshing is like my generation, we had schools that really had a focus and an emphasis on the arts. And we've lost that, over the years. So to be 23, to have an experience by attending a school that focused on the arts, that's super, super refreshing. And, a takeaway for me is that how you start isn't necessarily how you finish. So you started off, interested in acting. Then you got introduced to directing. You jumped at the opportunity. So I love that story. And it is also a teachable moment for those who are tuning in. But what I also want to discuss is we all know that the entertainment world or Hollywood has an expiration date, especially when it comes to women, right? Do you find that narrative is the same for women who are behind the camera as well?
I think so, but I also think everything is changing right now in the industry. So while that kind of used to be the traditional mold, I think we are seeing more women behind the scenes. It's still much less than men, and I would like to see that increase. But I think we're moving in the right direction. But you definitely do see it behind the screen or behind the scenes as much as you do as those on the screen.
Got it. So going back to the age factor, I'm not age shaming you at all. But as a 23-year-old award-winning screenwriter and director, do people take you seriously?
I have been very lucky with that. People have. And I don't know what it stems from. But I've been very fortunate in that because I know people that aren't necessarily taken seriously all the time. So I'm very grateful for it.
Got it. So talk about the first thing that you wrote, the first, let's say, script you wrote.
Okay. So the very first short film that I wrote was actually my junior year of high school. And it was right after I had directed that one-act play, and I was like, oh, I want to do this, and I started looking for other opportunities, and I came across an arts boarding school in Michigan, which is where I was, and I really called Interlochen Arts Academy, and I really wanted to go, and so in order to do that, because they had a film program, so in order to do that, to go my senior year, I had to put together a portfolio, and I had nothing, so I was like, I guess we're making a movie. So I sat down and I wrote this 10-minute short, which had a million different plot holes, and the sound quality was bad, the camera quality was bad, but I look at it now, I'm like, you got to start somewhere.
Right.
And it was about this teenage boy who faked his own death to like help his mom from something. I don't even remember the specifics of it. I don't even know if we knew at the time, going back to the plot holes. But so yeah, that was the first short that I ever made.
Oh, wow. So where do you come up with these ideas?
I get inspiration from a million different places. A lot of it stems from just conversations and day-to-day life. I have this list on my phone that I've had for probably 5 or 6 years now, and it's just dialogue lines, like random lines that I've heard people say that stuck out to me, whether that be a friend or like a stranger that I ran into at a grocery store. And so I get a lot of inspiration just from like day-to-day interactions, and then just from like within my own little circle. And a great example of that is I'm working on this series right now. And the idea came to me through a conversation that I had with a kid that I went to high school with. And I hadn't talked to him in years. And I just reached out to ask him for advice on a place I was considering moving to that I knew he had experience with. And somehow through that conversation, I had this idea for this series, and it had absolutely nothing to do with what we were talking about. So I just get a lot of inspiration from like everyday normal moments.
Me too. I'm glad that you just confirmed I'm not a weirdo, because I had conversations with people just today. And one of my friends, she said, I thought it was an amazing line. And I said, you know, I'm going to keep that. And I write them down and then I use them. In my So you just confirmed that I'm not crazy. So I'll tell my friends I'm not crazy because Paige said so.
Yeah, you're not crazy at all. And if you are, then I'm crazy too, because I do it every day.
But you know, what makes you so unique and also so successful is I love when art imitates life. So just to find out that you are, you know, walking through life really as an active participant, just taking whatever tidbits you can get and adding it to your screenplays, that's amazing, because we love real artwork. So I'm glad that you are doing that. So talk about after the boarding school experience, where did you transition to next?
I went to college. So I went to Ringling College of Art and Design in Sarasota, Florida.
Okay.
Which was a phenomenal experience for me because I was really exposed to every element of the business. And by the time I graduated, I had served on a set in every single position. So walking out of there, I really had a good grasp and understanding of each position, how important it is, what they do, and how to best communicate with them.
Talk about that a little bit more. Why is it important for everyone to know about every single position?
Well, there's a lot of reasons. I think for me as a director, I've really used it in communication. And like every department on the set has their own little lingo and jargon that they use. So being able to kind of step into that world and talk to them in terms that they know and can relate to is really important. So I think for me, that's been one of the biggest things. And then on top of that, it's just communication in general and having a better understanding of how much work goes into every position. Because some of them, you know, you can look at it and go, okay, how much work could really go into costume design? You're picking out an outfit and putting it on a character or an actor. But after doing it, I'm like, man, I love it. And I appreciate my costume designer so much. So I think that, you know, you get a deeper understanding of it. And that just really helps you have a deeper appreciation.
And to show that you have an appreciation for the artwork and for people who are on set, I read somewhere that you are an actor's director. Talk about that, because I love that phrase, the actor's director. Talk about that.
Yeah, so I think that really stems from the fact that I started as an actor. But for me, that's my favorite part on the set and in pre-production is getting to work with my actors. And I think it's so important to be able to recognize their emotional breaking points and when they're getting close to it and when they've hit that. Because as a director, you are the actor's biggest advocate. Yeah. And the second that they hit that emotional wall and you're like, oh, let's do another take or let's do it again and do it differently, you're no longer looking out for them and you're not being their advocate. And as soon as that relationship breaks, there's no turning back. Wow. You will notice it within the project. So I think for me, that's been a really big part of being an actor's director, is having that at the forefront of my mind all the time.
You need to sprinkle that across Hollywood and entertainment, because I've had conversations with so many talent and they tell me, you know, oh, I've been on set for 27 hours and, you know, I had to go do this. Yeah, I had to go do this and the director, you know, wouldn't let me leave set. So I'm glad that you are an actor's director and you are empathetic to their journey to make sure that they are producing, you know, whatever you wrote for them. But also, you know, just talking about creating content, what is your favorite genre to write a script about?
Drama. I love deep-rooted emotional dramas. And oftentimes they actually will tell something or touch on something within the story that is like a real world, everyday, or societal issue. And for me, I've tried so hard sometimes to just not include that, just be like, let's just do something pure entertainment for fun. And it always worms its way back into what I'm doing. So those are my favorite, the deep-rooted emotional dramas for sure.
So like once again, you're 23 years old. How comfortable are you writing about romance? love, lust, steamy?
I mean, I haven't written it yet, but I guess we'll see when I get there. It's hard for me to be like how comfortable I am writing something that I haven't approached yet, because I haven't then gone into that mindset to write it. So I'll get back to you on that. I'll let you know.
But would you be interested in writing something that is steamy, lustful, romantic?
Yeah, definitely.
Got it. So now I just want to transition a little bit, just talking about the multifacets of Hollywood. Now, me being into this whole entertainment space, one question that I get, not too often, but I do get it sometimes, is your platform just for talent of color? And I'm just like, no. And it once again brings me to the conversation of diversity and inclusion in Hollywood. So how are you with creating diversity and inclusion in the people that you hire as actors?
That's hugely important to me. And it's something that I am always looking for. And I started my own production company in May of 2020. So that's definitely something that every time I go to do a project is at the forefront of my mind, just because I know that there's not enough opportunities, and it drives me crazy. It upsets me so much. So it's really important to me that within my company and my work, that's not ever an issue.
Got it. Now, I also read that you formed a network of investors, and I think that's super, super important. Talk about the pitch to these investors. What was the pitch like?
Well, for me, the pitch, it really kind of included work that I've done, what the vision is moving forward. And for me, I have a very consistent idea of what I want to do. Yeah, all of the stories are going to be different. But like I said earlier, I'm very drawn to those deep-rooted emotional dramas. So being able to kind of tie back to that and say, this is what I want to do. And like, for example, my short film Anchor, using that as an example and just saying, this dealt with sexual assault, and seeing the reaction that came from that and being able to use that as an example, I think was beneficial for that.
Got you. Now, when you are writing a script, what is your ultimate goal? What do you want to achieve with every single script that you create?
I think it depends on what the story is and what the goal is of that particular project. But for me, overall would be to make the audience walk away thinking not necessarily differently than when they came in, but just thinking. My job as a storyteller isn't to tell you how to think, it's to give you an opportunity to think. So as long as I achieve that, then I'm happy.
Got it. Now, we all need inspiration from somewhere. Who inspires you?
So many people. I think both of my parents inspire me. And then in the entertainment industry, people like Dan Fogelman, Damien Chazelle, Greta Gerwig, Taylor Sheridan. I love Taylor Sheridan. He's a masterful storyteller. He has such a good way of like taking a deep story, but when you boil it down, it's really just a simple concept that it just goes so deep. And that's something that I really admire. So I definitely look up to him.
Got it. And I just want to kind of moonwalk backwards. You know anything about moonwalking, Michael Jackson? I know
I do. I don't know how to do it, but I know what it is.
So I just want to moonwalk back a little bit because you briefly touched on your latest project, Anchor. Has it been released yet, or is it still in production?
It has. It's on YouTube right now.
Oh, so it explores a story of sexual assault?
It does. Yes. It follows Haley Emerson, who is a very bright and independent college student who experiences a traumatic sexual assault at a party. And then simultaneously, we kind of get to explore how the handling of that situation affects all of her relationships, including with her best friend.
Oh, wow. That's a deep story. And I'm sure that it can be a trigger for a lot of people. But I love watching films. I love watching content that has triggers, that causes you to kind of think and question. So what is one takeaway that you want people to leave with after they watch Anchor?
Well, there's so many issues, in my opinion, on how sexual assault is handled and viewed in our society. And one of the biggest things is that people so quickly jump to, did it really happen?
Yeah.
And if it did, and you're telling me that it did, I want to know all the details to prove to me that it happened. So if we could encourage shifting conversations from that to asking, okay, how can we support? What do you want to do? What are the next steps? How can I support you? And then anything else being an afterthought, that would be huge.
Got it. Now, I know that you take experiences and you put it into your writing when you are developing scripts, but how much of you do you put into your scripts?
Probably more than I would like to admit. I'm very much the type of writer that completely steps out of my own self when I'm writing and transforms into the character. And I think anytime you do that, there's still going to be a part of you, because you're still who you are. You're just stepping into a different mindset. So I think no matter how hard I try, there's always going to be a large part of myself in some way in a project. Sometimes I think I don't even realize what that is until way later. But I definitely think it's always present.
And I asked that because, once again, I just wanted you to prove to my friends that I'm not crazy because I'm a published author, and every book that I've written, I take on the character's role myself. And I live as that character for however long it takes so that I can fully understand that character's role as I develop him or her. And then people will stop it. Well, my friends, they're like, why did you do that? You don't talk like that. And I say, I'm in character, so I'm glad that you place a huge piece of you in your work, because that means that it's authentic.
Yes. And I'm grateful for it. I am, because one thing that I've become really appreciative of lately is that my job has opened up my eyes so much to things that I would never be exposed to in my day-to-day life just by taking on these characters. And I think, both as someone who writes it and takes on the emotions and the experiences of my characters, and as someone who consumes a lot of film and TV, it's so important, because that's a way that we can encourage people to kind of look at things differently, to try to understand one another a little bit more. That's something that I'm really grateful for.
Got it. Since you joined this conversation, I've been a little bit distracted, I must admit. The awards behind. So most people define success by the number of awards they've received. How do you define success?
For me, it's about if my project resonates or not. Going back to, if I can make someone think, then that's successful for me.
Got it. So what are you working on next?
So I'm working on a multi-season drama series right now. Yeah. Unfortunately, I can't talk too much about it, but what I can tell you is that it deals with the opioid crisis. Good. And how that kind of trickles down and then infiltrates small towns across America. And in particular, in this series, we focus on one town and how it just kind of runs rampant and everything that happens within that. So.
Well, I'm excited about it because I think that that's a topic that needs to be explored a lot, a topic that needs to be on everyone's radar, because it is seriously a problem. So all of your content, where can people go to continue following you?
So the best place to find me is on Instagram, and that's just my name. So it's Paige Irene Bruns.
Nice. Well, Paige, thank you so much for this amazing conversation. Is there anything else that you want to leave my audience with?
Oh my gosh. I think I would just want to tell people that I'm so passionate about what I do, and that sometimes when I write about something, I may not have experienced it myself, but I am 110% there, and I am an advocate in any way that I can be. So. Got it.
Age is nothing but a number. And although you are 23, Paige, what I liked about this conversation is you are using yourself to pour into your work. You are an actor's director. You are open to exploring so much more. So the sky is the limit for you. We will stay tuned to watching your amazing growth. Continued success to you, and happy holidays.
Thank you so much. Happy holidays to you as well.
Thank you.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Bye.